I did not expect my first real date in over a year to end with my chest tight and my mind spinning beside the South Platte River, staring at a woman I barely knew, while she calmly dropped a truth that could change everything. I have a son. He's 5. She said it like she was telling me her favorite color, like she had practiced saying it enough times to know exactly how it usually landed. The river lights behind her made the water look like it was full of little stars, and I stood there with my hands in my pockets, trying to act like I was not hid sideways. Her eyes stayed on mine, steady and honest. "You okay with that?" she asked, softer now, like she was ready for me to step back and disappear. I swallowed hard and forced air into my lungs. I was not scared, not really, just surprised. The kind of surprised that makes you realize you have been walking into a room with no idea what was waiting inside. "I'm not running," I said, and even as the words left my mouth, I did not know if I meant them or if I was just saying them, because she looked like she deserved better than silence. Her shoulders loosened a little, like she had been holding her breath. That moment stayed with me, even later that night when I drove home alone, even when I stood under my apartment's buzzing hallway light, even when I lay on my couch staring at the ceiling like it might explain what I had just stepped into. Because before she said those words, the date had felt almost perfect. My life had been quiet for a while. Too quiet. I am Noah, 27, living in a small apartment just outside downtown Denver. I work as a UI designer at a tech startup, the kind with a scrappy team and a big dream, where we spend late nights trying to make apps that do not crash the second someone opens them. It is fine. It pays the bills. It keeps my fridge stocked with craft beer. It lets me pay for a gym membership I barely use. And it keeps me busy enough not to think too hard about how my last relationship ended. 3 years ago, I was the guy making plans. Trips. Moving in. Talking about the future like it was a sure thing. Then my girlfriend got a job in Seattle and left, and I stayed in Denver with a half-packed box of memories and a promise I could not keep. After that, I told myself I was done with dating, done with apps, done with putting my heart on the table for someone to pick up and walk away with. But one Thursday night, I was bored, scrolling on my phone, not even sure what I was looking for. That is when I saw Ella. Her profile did not scream for attention. No perfect beach pictures, no quotes about manifesting dreams. Just 3 photos that felt simple and real. One of her sitting in a coffee shop in a white button-up, sunlight catching her dark hair. One of her walking a scruffy golden retriever on a trail. And one blurry shot of her laughing with someone off camera. Her bio was short. "I teach elementary school. Love real smiles and strong coffee." That was it. I swiped right without thinking she would swipe back. She did. We messaged for a few days, and it felt easy, like we already knew how to talk to each other. She told me about a kid in her class who glued his hand to a desk. I told her about a client who wanted neon green buttons on their app because it felt exciting. She made fun of me for being dramatic. I made fun of her for being a teacher who still had glitter in her hair. Then she suggested pizza. The place was Tony's. A little hole in the wall in one of Denver's older neighborhoods. Brick walls, checkered tablecloths, and those warm Edison bulbs hanging above the patio like someone tried to make the night feel softer. I got there early because nerves make me punctual. I sat outside, fidgeting with the menu, checking my phone like it was going to coach me through not messing this up. When Ella showed up, she was 3 minutes late, cheeks pink from the cold, dark hair spilling out from under a knit beanie. "Noah," she said, spotting me, her voice warm and a little out of breath. "Sorry, traffic was a mess." She smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made the nervousness in my stomach loosen. Not perfect, not practiced, just real. I stood up too fast and knocked my water glass over. It soaked the tablecloth. "Great start," I said, grabbing napkins like my life depended on it. Ella laughed, not loud, but enough to make me feel like it was fine. "Noah, relax," she said, sliding into the chair across from me. "It's just pizza." She wore a dark green sweater and jeans, nothing fancy, but she carried herself like she was comfortable in her own skin. Her eyes were hazel, catching the light, and I caught myself staring a second too long. We ordered a margarita pizza to share, her idea, and a couple beers. The conversation started safe, work stories, small jokes. But it did not stay safe for long because she had this way of listening like she actually cared what I said. She told me about teaching second graders and how glitter projects were her personal enemy. "You ever try cleaning glitter off carpet?" she asked. "It's like trying to reason with a tornado." I told her about our lead developer deleting half our design files and blaming a server glitch. She laughed, louder this time, and I found myself trying to make her do it again. The pizza came hot and thin-crusted. We argued over the last slice. I let her have it. She split it anyway. When the bill came, we both reached for it and our hands brushed. She pulled back first, smiling like she was already planning the next time. "Next time, I'm paying," she said. "Next time." Those words sat in my chest like a spark. We decided to walk after, neither of us ready to end the night. The streets were quiet, leaves crunching under our shoes, the air crisp enough that you wanted to stay close to someone without admitting it. We headed toward the river path where the lights made the water glow. For a while, we walked in a comfortable silence. Then Ella stopped. She gripped the strap of her bag, knuckles pale in the dim light. And when she looked at me, her expression changed. Still calm but careful, like she was about to place something fragile in my hands. "Noah," she said, "there's something I need to tell you before we go any further." My stomach tightened. "Okay," I said, trying to sound calm. "What's up?" She took one slow breath, held my gaze, and said the words that changed the whole night. "I have a son. He's 5. His name is Finn." And as the river kept moving behind her like nothing had happened, I realized this was not just a date anymore. This was a doorway, and I had no idea what was on the other side. I stood there for a second too long after Ella said it, like my brain needed time to catch up. The river kept moving behind her, low and steady, and the lights along the path made the water look soft. But my thoughts were loud. A son. 5 years old. Ella did not rush to fill the silence. She just watched me, calm on the outside, but I could see something in her eyes, a quiet brace, like she had done this before and she already knew how it usually ended. "You don't have to decide anything tonight," she said. "I just thought you should know." I exhaled slowly. "I'm surprised," I admitted. I did not see that coming. A small smile touched her mouth. Surprised is better than running for the hills. That line landed deeper than she probably meant it to. It told me she had seen men run. It told me she was protecting herself and her kid before she even protected her own feelings. And for some reason, that made me want to step closer, not back. "I'm not running," I said again, more certain this time. "I just need a second to process." Ella nodded like that was fair. Her shoulders relaxed slightly. We started walking again, side by side, leaves crunching under our shoes. The rest of the walk was quieter, but not awkward. It felt careful, like we had stepped onto thinner ice. When we reached her car, she turned to me with that same honest look. "Thanks for tonight," she said. "It was nice." "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. It was. She got in, gave a small wave, and drove off. I stood under the streetlight, watching her taillights disappear, feeling like I had just been handed a whole new world without warning. I did not text her right away, not because I was trying to play games, not because I wanted her to chase me. I just did not know what to say without sounding like I was panicking. I drove home, parked, and sat in my truck for a long time with the engine off. My apartment building looked the same as always. Quiet, safe, predictable. The kind of life where the biggest surprise is a neighbor's dog barking too early. But my chest still felt tight. I went upstairs, kicked off my shoes, and dropped onto my couch. The TV stayed off. My phone sat in my hand, screen dark, like it was waiting for me to decide who I was going to be. I kept seeing Ella's face by the river. Not nervous, not begging, just honest. Like she was saying, "This is my life, take it or leave it." And I kept hearing her words. "I have a son. He's 5. His name is Finn." It was not a deal breaker. It was not even fear. It was the weight of it. Dating someone with a kid was not just about dates and chemistry. It was about schedules, priorities, responsibility. A child meant she could not just disappear into late-night drinks and weekend trips whenever she wanted. It meant there was someone else who mattered more than me, and if I stayed, I would have to respect that. My last relationship already taught me what it felt like to build plans with someone who could still leave. I was not sure I had it in me to step into something bigger and risk getting attached to a whole little life that could vanish if things went wrong. The next day at work, I tried to focus on design, buttons, layouts, spacing. My screen was full of tiny details that were supposed to matter. But my mind kept drifting back to Tony's, the checkered tablecloth, Ella laughing at my stupid story about blaming my ex's cat for breaking a teapot. My coworker Sam noticed fast. "You good, man?" he asked over lunch, chewing on a taco like he had all the time in the world. "You look like you're trying to solve world hunger." I shrugged. "Just tired." He squinted at me. "Bad date." I almost laughed because it was the opposite. The date was great. The date made me feel like I remembered how to breathe again. It was the part after the date that had me twisted up. The day after that, my buddy Ryan invited me to play Call of Duty. I put on my headset and tried to lose myself in it, but I kept missing shots like my hands were not connected to my brain. "Dude," Ryan said, "you are getting smoked." "What is going on?" "Work," I lied. He did not buy it, but he let it go. He always did. 3 days passed, then 4. Ella did not text me either. That did something to me. Not because I wanted her to chase me, but because her silence felt like a test. Like she was giving me space to decide without pressure. Like she was saying, "I told you the truth, now show me who you are." On the 4th night, I sat on my couch with a beer, staring at our last messages. Her last text after the date was simple. "Thanks again. Tonight was fun." A waving emoji. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I typed a few drafts. "Hey, sorry I've been quiet. Had a great time. Just processing." I deleted them all. They sounded weak, like excuses. So I did what Ella did. I told the truth. I had a great time. "I've been thinking about what you said. I still want to see you if you're up for coffee this week." I hit send before I could overthink it. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. "I'd like that. Bruin Books, after school tomorrow." No drama, no guilt, no angry questions. Just a door cracked open again. The next afternoon, I got to Bruin Books early. Of course I did. It was a cozy coffee shop tucked into a quiet corner of Denver, with exposed brick, mismatched chairs, and the smell of cinnamon in the air. There was a chalkboard sign by the door that said "Coffee because adulting is hard," and I stared at it like it was speaking directly to me. I found a table by the window and fidgeted with a sugar packet, trying to calm my nerves. This was not a first date. This was a follow-up. A decision in motion. Ella walked in right on time. Navy blazer over a white tee, hair pulled back but a little messy, like she had been grading papers in a hurry. When she spotted me, she smiled, warm but careful. "Noah," she said, sitting across from me, "you found it." "Yeah," I said, grinning. "Only got lost twice." She laughed softly, and for a second it felt like we were back at Tony's. We ordered coffee. Black for me. Cinnamon latte for her. We talked about her day, my work, small things. But the truth sat between us like a third person at the table. Ella stirred her latte, the spoon clinking against the mug, and she waited. So I took a breath and said the words that mattered. "Finn, tell me about him." Her eyes lit up, but there was still that flicker of caution, like she was watching for the moment I changed my mind. "He's a handful," she said, smiling. 5, going on 15. Loves dinosaurs. Can name every single one, even the ones I can't pronounce. Hates odd numbers. No idea why. And he has this rule about sandwiches. They have to be cut diagonally or he'll stage a full protest. I laughed, and it came out real. Ella watched my face closely. "He's my world, Noah," she said. "But I get it if it's a lot." I leaned back, letting the truth settle in my chest. "It is a lot," I admitted. "I've never dated someone with a kid. I don't know what that looks like." Her expression tightened slightly, like she was bracing. "But I'm not running," I added. I just want to do this the right way." The tension in her shoulders eased. "That's fair," she said. "I don't expect you to have it all figured out. I don't either. I just need to know that if you're in, you're not going to bail halfway. Finn's been through that already." The way her voice cracked on that last part told me there was a story she was not ready to unload. I swallowed hard. "I'm not that guy," I said quietly. "I won't make promises I can't keep. But I want to keep seeing you, and I want to understand what this means with Finn." Ella held my gaze for a long moment like she was searching for a lie. Then she nodded, small and steady. "Okay," she said. "That's enough for now." And something in me shifted again. Because this was not just about whether I liked her. It was about whether I could show up. And for the first time in a long time, I wanted to try. After that coffee date, things did not turn into some fast romance where everything suddenly made sense. It moved slower than that. It was careful, like we were both feeling out the edges of something real, something that could either grow strong or fall apart fast. Ella and I kept texting. Nothing dramatic. Just small pieces of our days. I would message her after work telling her my client wanted another round of changes. She would reply later at night, saying Finn finally fell asleep, and she was grading spelling tests with cold tea on the table. It was simple, but it did not feel casual. Every message felt like a step. I started showing up at her place a couple nights a week after Finn was asleep. She made it clear she was not rushing me into meeting him. I respected that. But even without seeing him, I could feel his presence in her life. Her living room had crayon marks on the coffee table. A stack of picture books leaned against the couch. A little plastic dinosaur sat on a shelf like it belonged there. The first time I came over, I brought groceries. Pasta, tomatoes, basil. I told her I could cook, even though that was a bold claim. She opened the door in an oversized sweatshirt, hair in a messy bun, looking tired in a way that made her feel even more real to me. "Noah," she said, surprised but smiling. "What's all this?" "Thought I'd make dinner," I said. "Spaghetti, unless that scares you." She stepped aside and let me in. "Only if you don't burn my kitchen down." We cooked together, or at least I cooked, while she leaned against the counter sipping wine and telling me about her day. The kitchen smelled like garlic and olive oil. The radio played some old song she hummed under her breath. It felt warm and normal in a way I did not realize I missed. Over the next few weeks, those quiet nights became our rhythm. Sometimes I brought takeout. Sometimes we sat on her couch while she graded papers and I pretended not to watch her. But I did watch her. The way she tucked hair behind her ear. The way she smiled without trying. The way she looked at her phone sometimes. Checking the time. Making sure Finn was okay, even when he was asleep upstairs. One night, we split a pint of mint chocolate chip ice cream, and she finally told me about Finn's dad. Not the whole story, just enough. "He left when Finn was 2, she said, staring at the spoon in her hand. Said he wasn't ready to be a dad, didn't even fight for custody, just gone." She said it like she had forced herself to get used to it, like she had practiced turning pain into a calm sentence. But her eyes gave her away. There was still a hurt in there, quiet and deep. I didn't ask a bunch of questions. I didn't want to make her relive it. "Sounds like you've had to be strong for a long time," I said. Ella looked at me for a second like she wasn't used to someone saying that without pity. Then she nodded once. "I've gotten good at handling things," she said. "But I don't want to handle everything alone anymore." That landed right in my chest. A month passed, then another. I started keeping a toothbrush at her place. She left a sweater in my car. Finn started showing up in our conversations more, without Ella even trying. She would mention how he refused to eat sandwiches unless they were cut diagonally. How he hated odd numbers. How he could name dinosaurs I couldn't even pronounce. Sometimes she sent me pictures. A drawing Finn made of a giant T-Rex wearing sunglasses. A voice message of him explaining why Stegosaurus was cooler than T-Rex because it had spikes. I laughed every time, saved them without thinking, and realized I was starting to care about this kid I had not even met yet. One night, Ella called me after Finn went to bed. "He asked about you today," she said, her voice soft. My stomach flipped. What did you tell him? That you're my friend who makes me smile, she said, and that maybe he'll meet you soon. Soon. The words sat between us like a door cracking open. 2 days later, I got a text from her while I was at my desk, staring at a wireframe that suddenly felt unimportant. Finn wants to meet the guy who keeps making me laugh. Saturday, 2 p.m. City Park. You in? My fingers went still on the keyboard. This was the step I had been circling around. Not just meeting a kid, meeting her world. Letting a 5-year-old decide what he thought of me. Letting myself care enough that it could actually hurt. I typed back anyway. I'm in. Tell Finn to bring his best dinosaur facts. Ella replied with a simple smile emoji, but my heart was pounding like I had just agreed to something huge. Saturday came fast. I woke up with a knot in my stomach, the same kind of nerves I used to get before big presentations at work. I put on jeans and a gray hoodie. Nothing fancy, but clean. I left early and still got there early, because that is who I am when I'm nervous. I walked around the park for a few minutes pretending I wasn't waiting. City Park was full of life. Kids laughing on the playground. Dogs pulling their owners down the paths. Leaves crunching under sneakers. The lake reflecting the bright Denver sky like a sheet of glass. Then I saw them. Ella stood near a picnic table by the water, denim jacket on, hair catching the sunlight. Next to her was a small boy in a green hoodie with a T-Rex printed on it. He held a plastic dinosaur in one hand and kicked at a pile of leaves with the other. Finn. He looked up when I got closer. His eyes were hazel like Ella's, but sharper, like he was already studying me. Ella waved me over, her smile warm but tight, like she was holding her breath. Noah, she said, you made it. Wouldn't miss it, I said, trying to sound calm. She rested a hand on Finn's shoulder. Finn, this is Noah, my friend. Finn didn't smile. He looked at me like I was an assignment he wasn't sure he wanted. His grip tightened on the plastic dinosaur. Hi, Finn, I said, crouching a little so I wasn't towering over him. Cool hoodie. T-Rex is the king, right? He blinked at me, then asked a question in a quiet voice. Are you my mom's boyfriend? Ella's breath caught. I could feel her go still beside him. I stayed calm, even though my heart jumped. I'm your mom's friend, I said carefully. I like hanging out with her. And I hear you're the dinosaur expert around here. Finn's eyes narrowed. What's your favorite dinosaur? I was ready for this, because I had spent an embarrassing amount of time learning dinosaur facts like my life depended on it. Ankylosaurus, I said. Big armor. Club tail. If something messes with it, it swings that tail and ends the argument. Finn stared for one more second, then his mouth twitched. Not bad, he said. Ella let out a breath like she had been holding it for weeks. Finn turned and pointed toward the playground. Can we go to the swings? Ella nodded and we walked over. Finn ran ahead like he had decided I was at least worth testing. Ella stayed close to me as we followed, her shoulder brushing mine for a second. You're doing okay, she whispered. I'm trying, I whispered back. At the swings, Ella pushed Finn, and his laughter filled the air. I stood nearby watching, feeling something strange and big in my chest. Seeing her like this, not just as the woman I was falling for, but as a mom, made everything feel more real. Finn hopped off the swing and ran to the grass, making his dinosaur fight a stick like it was a battle for the world. Ella sat on a bench, and I sat next to her. The space between our knees was small, and it felt loaded. You sure you're okay with this? She asked quietly. It's not just me you're stepping into. I looked at Finn, then back at her. I don't know everything, I said, but I know I want to keep showing up. For you. For this. Ella's eyes softened. Before she could respond, Finn ran over, holding up his dinosaur like a trophy. Noah, he said, excited now. Did you know velociraptors might have had feathers? I leaned in like this was the most important news in the world. So they were basically dinosaur birds, I said. Finn giggled, a real laugh, and something inside me loosened. Then his face turned serious again, just as fast. Are you going to leave? Like my dad? The air changed. Ella froze. My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. I looked at Finn's small face, the way he tried to act tough while asking the scariest question a kid could ask. And I realized this was the moment that mattered most. Not the pizza date, not the coffee shop. This. I swallowed, meeting his eyes. And I had to choose what kind of man I was going to be before I even spoke. Finn's question sat between us like a rock in my throat. Are you going to leave, like my dad? He tried to sound tough, but his eyes gave him away. He was scared. Not of me, of getting used to me. Ella's hand tightened on the edge of the bench. I could tell she wanted to jump in, to protect him, to soften it. But she did not. She just watched me. Breath held, like she needed to know what I would do when it got real. I crouched down in front of Finn so we were eye level. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice calm. No, Finn, I said. I'm not going anywhere just to disappear. Not if you and your mom want me around. Finn studied my face like he was searching for a lie. 5 years old, but already carrying the kind of caution some grown men never learn. After a long second, he nodded like he decided to believe me for now. Okay, he said quietly, then turned and ran back toward the grass like he needed space from his own feelings. Ella let out a shaky breath and stared at the ground for a moment. That was a big one, she whispered. His dad, I said. She nodded. He left when Finn was 2. Finn does not ask that unless he is scared. I looked over at Finn, watching him make his dinosaur jump off a rock like it was flying. My chest felt tight, but something else was there too, a strange kind of clarity. I meant what I told him, I said. Ella's eyes lifted to mine. They were glossy. Not crying, but close. I know, she said, and her voice sounded like relief mixed with fear. We stayed at the park until the sun started to dip. Finn warmed up more as time passed. He challenged me to tag and took it way too seriously. He made me watch a dinosaur battle that lasted 10 minutes and required sound effects. I played along, pretended to lose, and he laughed so hard he fell into the grass. Ella laughed too, and that sound did something to me. It made the moment feel normal. Like we were not standing on the edge of something fragile. When we walked back toward the parking lot, Finn reached for his mom's hand with one hand and held his dinosaur in the other. Then, like it was nothing, he brushed his shoulder against my arm as he walked. Not a hug, not a big sign, just a small test. I did not move away, Ella noticed. I saw it in the quick way she looked at me, like her heart just took a careful step forward. That night, Ella invited me to her place for dinner. Nothing fancy, she said. Spaghetti. Finn wants to make you watch dinosaur videos. Fair warning. Finn cheered like it was the best news ever, and I found myself smiling without thinking. At her house, the smell of marinara filled the kitchen. Finn ran around the living room with his hoodie half off, leaving a trail of toys behind him. Ella apologized for the mess, and I told her it felt like a real home. I meant it. Finn made me sit on the carpet with him while he explained a dinosaur video like I was a student. He paused it every few seconds to point out something important. Ella watched from the kitchen, stirring sauce, her face soft. When we ate, Finn covered his spaghetti in so much Parmesan it looked like snow. Ella teased him. He teased her back. I laughed so hard I almost choked on my water, and Ella reached under the table to squeeze my hand. It was quick, but it felt like trust. After dinner, Finn insisted I help him build a Lego dinosaur. Halfway through, his eyelids got heavy, and he leaned against me without even asking. A few minutes later, he was asleep on the couch, mouth slightly open, dinosaur toy still in his hand. Ella stood there staring at him like her heart was too full to speak. Then she took out her phone and snapped a picture. I raised an eyebrow. Evidence, I asked. She smiled, but her eyes were wet. He trusts you, she whispered. That is not small. I did not know what to say, so I just pulled her into a hug. She rested her forehead against my chest for a moment, breathing like she had been holding a storm inside her for years. That night, after Finn was tucked into bed, Ella and I stood in her kitchen washing dishes. The house was quiet, just the hum of the fridge and the soft clink of plates. Ella dried her hands and leaned against the counter, watching me. Noah, she said, quiet but serious. "I need to ask you something." My stomach tightened. "Okay." "If you keep doing this," she said, "if you keep showing up, I need you to understand something. I cannot do halfway." Not with Finn. Not again. I set the dish towel down and turned to her fully. I could hear how careful her voice was, like she was trying to protect herself while still hoping. "I'm not here for halfway," I said. She studied me like she was trying to see the future in my face. "People say that," she said. "Then life gets hard. Then they disappear." I stepped closer and took her hands. Her fingers were cold. "I'm not your ex," I said. "I'm not the guy who leaves a note and runs. I don't know everything about what this will look like. I'm still learning, but I know I want you. And I know Finn is part of you, so if I want you, I'm not ignoring him. I'm choosing both of you." Ella's breath shook. She looked down for a second, then back up, and when her eyes met mine, something changed, like she stopped bracing for impact. She nodded slowly. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Then she stepped into my arms and held on tight, like she was finally letting herself believe she could be held back. Months passed, and we built a life in small, steady pieces. I did not move in right away. We did not rush into some perfect picture. But I became part of their routine. I helped Finn with puzzles. I went to the park with them on weekends. I learned how to cut sandwiches diagonally without being told. Finn started calling me Noasaurus like it was a title I had earned. Ella started smiling more, real smiles, the kind that came without fear behind them. One night, after Finn fell asleep on the couch again, Ella sat next to me and rested her head on my shoulder. "I didn't expect you," she said softly. "I didn't expect any of this," I admitted. She laughed quietly. "Especially not on a first date." I looked down at her. "You saying you regret it?" She lifted her head, eyes warm. "Not for a second." I kissed her, slow and sure, and it felt like a promise without needing big words. Later, when I drove home, I sat in my truck for a moment before going inside, thinking about how close I came to walking away at the river. She said, "I have a son. He's 5. And I had been surprised. Now I understood something I did not know back then. Love is not always a spark. Sometimes it is a choice you make when someone hands you their whole world and says, "Please be careful with this." Ella trusted me with her heart. Finn trusted me with his fear. And for the first time since my last relationship ended, I was not afraid of what came next. Because I wasn't just dating a woman who made me laugh. I was building something real, and I was not going anywhere.